Hey y'all, hope you're doing good today. So I wanted to share some thoughts with you all and hope that it's beneficial for you in some way. I hope it gets the wheels turning most of all, like I always say, but I hope you're doing good, and I just thank you so much for being here. So I just had to pop in the store. I'm waiting on my groceries to get pulled. I love to order and then go and just drive up and pick up, and that's like the coolest thing ever. So that's like one of the good things that came out of the crazy times of the pandemic, right? And so the stores just kind of altered and adjusted and accommodated and all this stuff. And so a lot of them have kept some of those same policies, and I just think it's really cool that we can order and pick up. So I'm waiting on my groceries, and I had to run in another shop, and I thought while I was there, you know, they've already got Halloween stuff out, which is crazy, and but at the same time, I love Halloween stuff, and I have to really exercise self-control when I go shopping, right? Especially when it comes to that. But so my message today is one that, as always, comes together very slowly. And I typically film, as you all know, before it's fully baked. And I do that on purpose because maybe I'm a little bit impatient, but mostly because I think that from my own experience, when I am looking for material to watch from others, and I'm, you know, in this phase of my life, I am in a transition phase still. I am on the upper end, the latter end of it, but I'm still in this transition phase. My life has changed a lot over the last couple of years, and so I've been going through a lot of healing and growth and learning, and my mind has been initially blown, and I've gone through and processed shock. And then beyond that, it's just an opportunity to kind of remain in a state of, I would say, expansive awareness, right? And so I have typically found myself drawn to people who don't just bring me a message that is totally complete and presented in a way that it's just 100% absolute. I like deep thinkers. And when you're a deep thinker, you're always going to leave room for possibilities. I wouldn't necessarily say error, because that's just very much woven into our experience, right? And there's a big difference in error and intentional deception. I just want to put that in there. I know you all know that, but I think just, you know, bringing that into your awareness is helpful sometimes as you're sorting through stuff. But there's always room for error, and there's always room to learn more. And I think when we go through all these changes and we're learning and we're growing, we come to a place, I say we, but this has been my experience. I've come to a place of understanding that even though I don't like to make assumptions, it's impossible to know every single detail about every single thing, even within one situation. Even that is limited. And so because of that, all you can do is just glean insights from what little bit of information you do have. And it's sort of like making assumptions is just kind of necessary to a degree. Drawing conclusions, coming to a place of sufficient understanding. It's sort of like that's the best we can do. And so because of that, I am more drawn to people who have a message that is in that kind of a spirit, as opposed to one that is just certain and absolute, and there's no wiggle room, there's no opportunity for expansion. Because if you think about the concept of expansion, right, I think that a lot of people, and there's comfort in certainty, but I think that's a falsehood, where we even fool ourselves, even if it's not a conscious thing. But the issue there is that you get locked up within our certainties and our absolutes and our paradigms, however you want to say it. You get locked up within that. It's a mental constraint. And so when you want to remain in this state of constant learning and growing, then that is like this energetic expansion, right? Or mental expansion. And because of that, what happens when you have you've reached a certain layer or a level of awareness, right? In order to expand from there, it's kind of like these constraints, these ropes or webs of constraints, or whatever's holding everything in, creating your current perception and understanding. Those have to be broken, and it's an uncomfortable thing. Expansion, mental expansion and understanding is an uncomfortable thing, because it means a breaking up of, or dissolving, or some type of dissipation, or just a doing away with. It's like kind of like a stage of brokenness, and it is uncomfortable. So that's why, and I'm just kind of breaking this down, doing a deep dive on what it means to try and stay in a humble state of, it's like a philosophical approach to life, of like every single moment you try to be aware of the fact that you don't want to ever, as you're growing, have it become a process where you are coming to a place and then like creating those walls, those mental boundaries, and then growing beyond that, and then there's another kind of place of stagnation, because then it's kind of like you're going through stages of feeling the pain of or even shock, of realization, which just tears away that structure, right? So when you try to remain in a slow and steady state of expansion, maybe we can kind of avoid a little bit of that. Maybe we can kind of learn to live in a way that is constantly, but very subtly and slowly expanding, so that there aren't these stages. And maybe we can kind of lessen the experience of painful realization at times. I went all around the world to say that, but the people I'm drawn to typically kind of go all around the world to explain things too, and I love it. I love that. It's gentle. To me, that's gentle. You have your bullet point type communication and thought processes, which is beneficial sometimes, but then you have your more poetic and or lyrical, or I'm thinking of like music is kind of this way. It's kind of like an approach that's just more gentle to the spirit and the psyche. And I think that when you are in a state of healing from something that's been really hard, a stage in your life, an event in your life, a big transition in your life, when you have come out of that, on the other side, you do need to be gentle with yourself. And I think that just learning a new way to go about things is even the way you think, and what you subject yourself to, what you take in, what you listen to, what you watch, what you read, all of that needs to be examined and carefully chosen. It's sort of like this. It's sort of like, I think it's kind of commonplace to meet people and make friends in the workplace, but that's really an approach of convenience. And a lot of times we suffer for that, because it seems good at first, but then it wasn't like a carefully thought out decision to get close to this particular person that you may have become friends with at the workplace, as an example, right? And so then when you realize like it's you don't really jive or whatever, sometimes people can, you don't realize. It takes a long time to get to know somebody, and sometimes you can realize this person's not stable or whatever it is, and then you got to work with them. So taking that same concept of approaching everything, decisions from convenience versus like a careful decision, those are two totally different modes of operation. And as part of my slow and steady effort, my efforts at approaching life in a slow and steady manner, being gentle with myself, as a part of that, I have learned to, you might call it going with the flow, but essentially it's, what I have found is I'm learning to do a lot of things differently, a whole lot of things differently. I'll give you an example. In my newest place that I've moved into, and I've been there now for a few years, a lot of my choices for furniture have been very unconventional, and I'll give you an example. I use very simplistic pieces because they're functional, and yet they're still attractive to me. So like Target has these really simple looking folding TV trays, right? But they're like little tables. And I have my furnace vents at the baseboards in this house. And so I don't want to block those really. And so these tables, these folding TV trays, are the perfect height for a nightstand. And so I use those for nightstands. And they're cool. And then if I need more storage, you can put like a little shelving unit that's still kind of open and airy underneath it. And so there's just so many different things you can do. Thinking literally outside the box. It's been fun, and it's been fun. It's been healing, and it has stretched my imagination, and even that in itself has been healing. And so every time I make a little decision like this, because I didn't just jump on like overused standard, like everybody does this for this room and everybody does this for this room. I didn't do that. So every time I make a decision that is outside the box, it's turned out to be a blessing for me, and it's becoming now a way of life for me, and I just really enjoy it. It's kind of like just a different, unique way to just carve out a little bit of fun for yourself in life. Just simple kind of fun, you know what I mean? And so I just wanted to share that with you all. As far as the Halloween stuff in the stores, like I said, I love it, and I'm trying to get away from clutter. I've never been one to really have a whole lot of clutter, except for my art supplies. That's hard to get rid of because it's like they're valuable, and I know I'll come back to it at some point. You know, and I have a lot of different crafting and art supplies in different areas, not like in my house, but I'm talking about like felting stuff, and I've got acrylic paint, and I've got, I don't think I have any more of the oil paints from college. I didn't really care for that. It was so messy. Beautiful results, because I learned that way in my classes, but just too messy for me. But I've got acrylic paints. I've got like the fine art acrylics, and I've got like the craft type acrylics, and then I've got watercolors, and I've got encaustic materials, and yes, that does include Crayola crayons, because you can melt down crayons, and they're very inexpensive, and they look beautiful in encaustics. So you don't have to get the really expensive blocks, you know, wax blocks. You can, and I try to have a little bit of both. But I've got just so many different art supplies. That's the one area where I do tend to accumulate a lot. But outside of that, I try to be conscious with my choices. There was a book I read a long time ago, or I flipped through rather, and I can't remember the name of it, but the whole concept was that every single thing you own, and you can carry this forward when you're out shopping, right? You shouldn't really go out shopping, I think, from this approach unless you have something in mind. Otherwise, you'll just pick up whatever, right? And we're all guilty of it, I think, or most of us anyway. I know I have been. And so, but every single thing you own should bring you joy. It should literally bring you joy. And I thought, because if you think about it, how many things do you own that don't bring you joy, you know? But that same approach can be used not just with the things you own, but the way you do your life, your everyday stuff. And that can include, like, I don't know how to say this. I think it's feng shui in your house, like the layout of everything. You know, is it, are you having to walk around stuff every which way, or do you have it like, you know, an open space where it's just not only more functional, but it just feels energetically better to you. It's like the flow in the household, like the chi, the energy, the life force energy is, you know, inside you and outside of you. And it's sort of like when you're healing and you're trying to restore the inside, part of that can come from focusing on the outside, you know, your environment, your atmosphere. So just some things to think about. And but yeah, I did pick up this cup and I thought it was pretty cool. Little ghosts. It's just a little fun. And I thought, you know, when I saw it, this was a different type of purchase, because normally I wouldn't buy things like this. And I saw this and it just immediately just made me feel, you know, happy, joy, just like fun. And so I'm going to try to be very intentional with everything I buy. I've also got a few boxes of my grandmother's stuff that she left behind. And I've shared these with you all before. There's like these little viewfinder reels, and they're kind of full. It's funny. They're kind of fun to look through, right? But there's also this cool little container, and I don't have a lot of yellow things. It's funny because I actually enjoy wearing yellow, but I don't think it really looks good on me with my complexion. But I love yellow, and I don't have a lot of it. And so when I found this, I was like, this is cool. I'm gonna wash it and put it somewhere in my house. It's just like a, I don't know if it's really a unique piece or not. It says it's made in Japan, but just cool, you know? And I think that it's not just stuff. Again, I think this can be a philosophy, a way of life. The way you do things can be unique. And specifically because it just feels right to you. I have to remind myself on the regular, and life has proven this to me. This is why I do this. This is why I remind this to myself, like all the time. I remind myself. Logic is limited. It's limited. Feelings, this is where I'm going to give you my opinion for what it's worth. In my opinion, feelings are attached to a higher knowing, for a lack of better terms. They're attached to almost like a collective unconscious, or a spiritual one spirit type of unity, the Holy Spirit. Feelings are attached to something that is much greater than limited human knowledge and logic. And so I'm trying to shift also into a feeling type of awareness. Now, the reason I think feelings get such a bad is it rap? I don't know. They get slammed a lot, right? The reason why I think, and this is a whole throwing the baby out with the bathwater thing that has happened in society, in my opinion, but I think the reason they are viewed negatively, feelings, is because they're associated with acting impulsively. And not everybody that feels deeply acts impulsively. So you don't have to. It's kind of like we need to break this stuff apart and understand. Remember the bird's eye view, the expanded view. We need to understand that feelings are not bad. They're part of the human design. They're part of the way God made us. And so, and I'm not preaching at you. I'm preaching to myself and sharing that with you. So I just want to point that out. I've already had my coffee, y'all. Now I'm onto my water. But here's what life has taught me. And this is This is why I don't understand how a person can get way up in years in life, reach a certain level of experience and maturity, and not have any kind of belief in the spiritual realm at all. I just don't personally understand how that's possible, unless they're just dead set on denying. They have a very rigid approach to life, and they're unwilling to be flexible and learn and grow. I don't know. This is my opinion, but because of my experience is this. Many times in my life, I have experienced both dreams and strong feelings, which have been so strong they have affected my thinking and been persuasive in my thinking, and I have dealt with this friction, this internal friction or resistance of saying, no, that's not logical, or no, that's not true. Why am I thinking this? Because it would be a feeling that would be so overwhelming, and all this stuff would turn out to be true later. And then in hindsight, I'm looking back and I'm going, oh, that's why I had that feeling. Oh, that's why I had that dream. And of course, the analytical side of me, because I am very analytical, says, well, maybe you brought about this outcome because you had this kind of paranoia or whatever, because you had the feelings, you were trying to make sense of the feelings, and then that brought about incorrect thinking, which then brought about this reality that you didn't want, or that is surprising to you, or whatever. I mean, that's how I think, right? I just wanted to share that, just so you feel supported if you're the kind of person that thinks that way too. So you're not alone. But the truth is, I've had enough experiences now to have what I believe to be a direct personal realization, as in an experienced realization, that there is truth to the prophetic nature of this human experience. And to me, that is a strong indication of something greater than us, and that we are a part of that, or at the very least, tapped into it. And so, at times, I have moments of just, it's no longer shock. It used to be shock. I've moved beyond that, thank goodness, because shock can do a number on your psyche, no doubt. But at times I've been just in awe, a lot of moments of just not really disbelief anymore, but just wow, and I've had a lot of moments of feeling humbled, and I think that, like anything, you can approach that too from a place of the free will to make a decision on how you're going to feel about that. And the way I'm going to feel about that is remaining in a state of knowing that there's a lot I don't know. And that's okay, and I'm not going to stress about it, and I'm going to find peace in that. It's weird how the same kind of situation can bring one person peace and another person distress. It's all a matter of the person's perspective. And instead of letting your perspectives take you for a ride emotionally, and your thoughts too, and then outcomes, just remember that you have the authority within you to take the reins of your own perspectives in any given moment. And so I just wanted to say that. And that's the approach I'm taking. And I'm just trying to, again, go about things in a very slow and careful and gentle manner. And I'm just learning that one of the results from that is just a lot of gratitude for the little things and beautiful moments. And excitement now is not something that happens to me so much as something that is a gentle process where I am able to choose it. And because if you think about it, I've talked about this before, excitement can be either like in a nervous, anxious type manner, or like a happy, expectant, like joyful type manner, you know, but that kind of feeling is sort of similar. It's like you're kind of just, you have this amplified feeling inside of you. And so what I have experienced is that if you are joyful, to tie this into a lot of my past messages, you know, how there's cons in the world and people with bad intentions, right? What I have experienced is sometimes when you are excited or happy about something, that's a prime opportunity for people who get off on bringing other people down because I got issues to work with, right? Doesn't justify it whatsoever, but anyway, that seems to be their prime opportunity to swoop in and do something to hijack this awesome moment that you're feeling and experiencing. And what can happen is, and we wind up blaming ourselves. I know in the past I have. You can go from this excited feeling, from it being a positive to a negative thing, and then it's sort of like your emotions take over in a negative manner when you realize what this person just did, you know, and then you're being taken for a ride. And so I'm learning how to sort of like not withhold my excitement, because that's putting a restraint on something that can be beautiful. But just to me, the key is awareness to all of it. It's just conscious awareness, moment to moment, sort of like knowing what to expect. You know what I mean? And that comes with experience, doesn't it? It comes with going through a lot. And I don't really know that there's any other way. I think you can read about stuff and have a logical understanding of things, but to have a deeper understanding, like a heart or energetic understanding, that's something different. And so, and I think too, it takes work to get there. It's not just going through stuff. I think that, because there's people that go through stuff and they never recover, sadly. But I think that you have to have some level of belief that you will find the good in it, the silver lining. You will find joy on the other side. You have to have some level of faith. And that tiny little mustard seed of faith can make all the difference in that shift. And so I think that's my message. So I didn't make any notes today, as you can see, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. I hope there was something in there that was just for you in a good way. And I just thank you so much for coming along to hear the message. And I'll probably post another video or two over the weekend. I've got some time, and I enjoy it, and I hope that you enjoyed it. So again, thanks so much for coming along to hear the message. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I will see you again very soon.